You have a virtual tour here of the Edward Peterson Air and Space Museum here at Peterson Air Force Base. Some pretty awesome collection of aircraft here, historic ones, some I'd never even seen or heard of before, and a few iconic ones which you'll recognize very easily when I get to them. So I'm just taking a little walk around the gantry here just to get into where the aircraft are at. Hey, how's it going there? Is that Rainier? I can't see very clearly because the sun's very bright. At about 6,000 feet of altitude, so that's what, about 3,000 meters, something like that. So yeah, there's people already walking around out here checking it out. I came by early this morning, took a bunch of still static photos, and now I'm out here doing a video for y'all live stream. Hopefully somebody will show up. Looks like the audience is 0 at the moment. That's 1 now. Anyway, so, oh yeah, I forgot this part here. Let me go back here. Read this to you. Hopefully I can switch the camera around. I think I can do that. If I can, that'll be great, rather than you look at my face all the time. So there's a plaque here at the museum that honors Congressional Medal of Honor. Hey, folks are turning up now. Thanks a lot. Ooh, you hear the sound echo in here. It's kind of weird. Let me see if I can turn the camera around, if it'll work. No, it's not working. Thought I could rotate around, but what does that do? That doesn't do it. Okay. All right, so I guess oh, here we go. This is the button to turn around. There we go. Okay, cool. Now we got it. All right, so this is a plaque honoring the Medal of Honor, America's highest military honor. Congress awards the Medal of Honor to members of the armed services who distinguished themselves conspicuously by gallantry and intrepidity and who risked their life above and beyond the call of duty while engaged in military action in the service of the United States. The act of personal bravery or self-sacrifice must be so conspicuous as to clearly distinguish the individual above their comrades. It must also involve risk of life. Award of this decoration requires incontestable proof of the performance of service. Now, in 1861 was when they first came up with this. The Air Force has been around since 1947, but their first awardees include Colonel Charles Lindbergh for his flight from New York to Paris in 1927, and Major General Billy Mitchell, who was also court-martialed. They gave it to him after he was dead, posthumous award for foresight in military aviation. In World War I, there were 4 recipients of Congressional Medal of Honor. Remember, it was the Army Air Service back then. So it was Bleckley, Gotler, I believe, were on the same mission, and then Luke, and then Eddie Rickenbacker from Ohio, all in France. Many in the Second World War. Then Korea, there were 4. Vietnam, there were several. And the only Congressional Medal of Honor with the Air Force from that time until recently is Master Sergeant John Chapman in Afghanistan in 2002 during the Global War on Terror. So that's the Medal of Honor, and that plaque is out here. See some of the aircraft out there. We're going to walk out and take a look at those. Just a second. Let me turn the camera back around to myself here. There we go. I like that. That's a nice feature. This S21 has that feature. It didn't have it in my previous Galaxies, and I don't think the iPhone has it, but maybe it does. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. This is a virtual tour of the Edward Peterson Air and Space Museum here at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm your host, Chris. I'm sure everybody knows that. Anyway, so the first stop was the Congressional Medal of Honor plaque in this park, which is where the aircraft are on static display. There's, at the beginning of it, a flagpole and a lot of stones for those who've donated money to the museum. A lot of retired military donating resources to help keep this museum going. People who work here are volunteers. So I can't see your chat very well, folks, because of the sun. So I apologize for not responding. Good to see folks here. I'm sure that hopefully Cameron Hessel is here, because he's going to love this stream. If anybody likes this stream, it'll be Cameron. Here, let me just turn this around here a second very quickly. In the distance, you can see the Rocky Mountains back there. See the mountains back there? This area sits right at the base of the Colorado Rockies. So you can see that from where I'm at right now. I'm going to walk over here and thank you, Eric, and my regular streams are missed. I appreciate that, but given how few people showed up from my other streams, I begin to wonder. I'm down to 100 people or less watching my videos and streams now. That's a little disappointing, but oh well. I suppose the content's not good enough. Anyway, so I'll be a little bit out of breath here because we're at 6,000 feet and I'm moving at a pretty good pace. So if I'm gasping for oxygen, it's not because I'm near death. It's because the air is thin at this altitude and I'm not in the best shape. Ooh, snow in the Drakensberg. That'd be awesome. All right, now I'm going to turn the camera around away from me for this portion here. All right, so you can see a missile right there. Check it out. And then you see some aircraft. Now, some of these I recognize. There's some I'd never even heard of. So we're going to walk through and look at these aircraft, walk through this park. Don't know how long it'll last. It'll probably be 10, 15 minutes at least for this stream, if you can hang around that long. But I think you're going to find it interesting. It's a fascinating little park. And let's just do a quick swing around here. You can see there's quite a few in this park. It's not that big, but it's big enough. Pretty impressive collection of historic aircraft. But let's take a look at this first one here. That missile that you see there. It says U.S. Air Force on it, USAF. So this is the Boeing SIM-10A Beaumark. And it's named after the Michigan Aeronautical Research Center. Ground-launched interceptor missile designed to destroy enemy aircraft. Entered operational service in 1960, was retired in 1972. What was that? Somebody said something? Oh, okay. Thanks, Erica. Okay, so Minnesota Air Guard. I'd never seen this aircraft before. Check out the unit insignia here. There's the rockets that come out of the pod. 179th FIS Cave Canum. So I'd never seen this aircraft before from the Minnesota Air Guard. It's the first time I've ever seen it in my life. It's an F-94C Starfire. Evolved from the P-80, first flown in 1949. They're used for air defense of the continental United States in the 1950s. They entered service in 1956, and by 1959 they were transferred to the National Guard. That's why it's a Minnesota National Guard. That's why I'm not familiar with it, because it barely saw operational service in the U.S. Air Force. This is the F-89J Scorpion. Check out that puppy. What an interesting view, right? Pretty big. These are all, of course, demilitarized. So the Northrop F-89 Scorpion was first Air Force jet designed to locate, intercept, destroy enemy aircraft at night or during the day. Made its first flight in 1948. Deliveries began in 1950. They were modified models until 55. And in 57, they test fired the Genie rocket with a nuclear warhead. So this thing, not this plane, but this aircraft fired a nuclear warhead in Nevada in 1957. The aircraft on display here has the markings of the 319th Interceptor Squadron, Bunker Hill Air Force Base, Indiana, in 1959. Now, this is one that folks should recognize. Hey, Boss Shepard, thanks for the super chat. I just saw that come up. Look at this. This is one people should recognize. This is an iconic aircraft. You'll recognize this from the Korean conflict if you know warfare. Check it out. This is, of course, the F-86 Sabre. Yes. Aerial dogfights with the North Koreans. That's what this thing was during the Korean War. F-86, North American F-86 Sabre Dog, interceptor version of the Family 86 that won air supremacy from the MiG-15 during the Korean conflict. Delivered in March of 55, this particular model started as a D model. Aircraft has markings of 322nd Fighter Interceptor Squadron, Larson Air Force Base, Washington, in 1957. Wow. F-86, how cool is that, folks? Let me turn this around real quick. Hey, so I hope you're enjoying this so far. I can see a bit of the chat here and there. Thanks for the super chat. I saw super chat come up. Very appreciate that very much. So we'll keep going, but this is cool. There is like a massive aircraft here that I'd never seen before, and as an intelligence officer, it's really cool for me. It's an electronic interceptor. We're going to see that one shortly. Also, there's the aircraft here because we are close allies with the Canadians. The North American Air Defense, NORAD, is located here in Colorado. And there are Canadian forces stationed in Colorado, so there are a few Canadian aircraft here as well. But let me get this around. You're going to recognize a few of these aircraft, including this one. Vietnam. The F-4 Phantom. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, the F-4 Phantom. Check it out. Woo, yeah. That is one of the most iconic. The F-86, the F-4. Yes, look at this. Oh, man. Developed for the Navy in 58, entered service in 61. In 1963, the Air Force received a modified version. It could carry an assortment of air-to-ground, air-to-air missiles, rockets, and bombs. 20-millimeter cannon pod could be carried on a center pylon. Yep. The aircraft on display here saw combat in 1968 during Vietnam. This plane flew in combat. in 1968 in Vietnam, folks. How cool is that? Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera back out there. There we go. Sorry about that. Trying to get the zoom working. Wow. It's in the colors and markings of the 637589, assigned to 57th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. It's based at Keflavik Air Force Base in Iceland, 1975. So it went from Vietnam to Iceland. Wow. And this one here is one I've never seen before. This is the F-106 Delta Dart. I guess it's called that because of the shape, the long length of it here. The Convair F-106 Delta Dart's an all-weather interceptor developed to be the ultimate interceptor. Wow. It's the last dedicated interceptor aircraft used by the Air Force. First flew in 1956. The Air Force took delivery in 1959. And this is one you guys should recognize. If Cameron Heslop is there, he is just going to love this. This is the F-15 Alpha Eagle from McDonnell Douglas. Check it out. That is an F-15, folks. How cool is that? Unbelievable, eh? So cool. So cool. So we got the F-4 Phantom over there, the 106, and then the F-15. Now, if you think this is a small aircraft, let me help you out with something here real quick, folks. Check this out. You see me? I'm not very far from the aircraft. I'm not even close to it. Look, I'll get closer, and I barely come up to the bottom of this thing. Look at this. That's how big this aircraft is. Look at that. It's massive. I've seen them, of course, like everyone else, in video and in combat, flying in the air, but I've never been up close to the one this close on the ground. Didn't realize they were that freaking big. I think it's huge. Huge, 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 huge. Anyway, that's the F-15, folks. So we'll walk our way around here more, and I'm having a real hard time seeing the screen. So if people are commenting, my apologies. I'll try to go back and read the comments after the stream. I can catch them occasionally, but let's swing around, get another look at that F-15. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Look at the mountains in the background. How cool is that? Pretty awesome, huh? All right, now we're working our way over here towards some of the Canadian aircraft, and I thought for a moment, looking at this through the bushes, that this was an F-16, but it's too small, and the bush kind of threw me off of the tree there. It's not an F-16. In fact, it's an aircraft I'd never seen before, but it's from the Canadian Forces right there. We'll be there in just a moment and take a look at it. Reminds me of an F-16. It's a CF-188 Hornet. Oh, that's with Hornet. Entered service of the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1982. Used for air defense, air superiority, tactical support, training, aerobatic demonstration, aerospace testing, evaluation. As of 2016, this is the F-18. Okay. It's a Canadian version of F-18. That's why it threw me off. Okay. All right. Still their frontline multi-role aircraft. Used in Kosovo, Libya, Iraq, all over the place. Eastern Europe, Syria. Wow. This aircraft entered service in 1984 in Quebec before being transferred to Cold Lake, Alberta in 1998. It's retired in 2004. 20 millimeter Vulcan cannon inside the nose. Yeah. Can we see that? Really can't see it here. Pretty impressive. So F-18, okay. It's on loan from the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force. Check it out. And look back here at the tail fin, what's painted on there. This is really cool. North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD. Isn't that neat? That's pretty cool right there, right? U.S. and Canada. That's what's painted on the tail fin. Here's another one from Canada over here. So that's actually an F-18, but the Canadian variant of it. It's kind of like the F-5. The CF-5 is the Canadian version. It threw me off. F-18, okay. So this is a CF-101B Voodoo, Canadian version of the F-101. First saw service at the Air Force's Air Defense Command. First flew in 1957. Long-range all-weather interceptor, entered service at the Canadian Armed Forces in 61, replacing the CF-100 Canuck. Carried 2 Falcon air-to-air missiles along with 2 Genie unguided nuclear rockets on a rotary launcher in the belly. Wow, this carried nuclear weapons too. This aircraft began its service with the U.S. Air Force in 1959, transferred to Canada in 1970, and finally retired in 1984. Has the markings of the 409th Nighthawk Squadron at Comex, British Columbia. Canadian Forces. It's a big bird. And here you go. Let's turn our attention over here. This one is assigned to an electronic warfare squadron, so it's got to be an intelligence platform. This is the 100 Canuck. That's that one replaced this. All-weather jet fighter from 52 to 81. This version is modified for electronic warfare, equipped with radar jammers and chaff dispensers. Cockpit sits two with a pilot and front electronic warfare officer behind him. It's the only Canadian designed and built fighter to enter mass production. 692 were built in several versions, including 332 Mark V's. This aircraft was a gift from Canada to the Peterson Museum in May of 1976. So it's been here since 76, commemorating the U.S. bicentennial. It's the markings of the 414th Electronic Warfare Squadron at Canadian Forces Base Uplands, Ontario, during the late 1960s. Wow. Wow, as an intel officer, appreciate seeing the electronic warfare aircraft. That's pretty cool. All right, we got a few more to show you here, folks, including some historic U.S. Army missiles from our past. Having also been an air defender, I'm familiar with these systems, although I never used two of the three systems because they predate me. They go back to the 50s and then the 60s, and then finally the other one comes up in the 60s, 70s, but it remains around till the 80s, 90s, and I was actually in a unit that had the third one. I'll tell you what that one is in a few moments. But first, we're going to take you over here to a Nike missile. No, not the shoes from Oregon, but the Nike missile. This one's pretty cool. So I'm going to turn the camera around again here so you can get a view of the mountains. Again, the air's thin. I haven't been here very long, so I haven't adjusted to the lack of oxygen yet. This is the Nike Ajax. Look at that. Ajax, the world's first operational surface-to-air anti-aircraft missile, entered service to U.S. Air Defense Command 1954. Ajax missile sites are located near major U.S. cities and military bases as a last line defense against air attack. Guidance system was simple. One radar beam tracked the target while another beam guided the missile on a collision course calculated by a computer on the ground. Can you imagine that computer in 1954? The Nike Ajax system was also used by the armies of France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Turkey. It was replaced by the more capable Nike Hercules system in the mid-1960s, which is one I'm very familiar with, the Nike Hercules. Now check this out. Look at this bad boy. This is electronic warfare right there. Look at that big dome on top of that. Thing is huge. All propeller, so you know this thing is not recent. Big engines too. This one has been here at Peterson for a very long time, this aircraft. It's a Lockheed EC-121 Tango Warning Star. Radar carrying modification of the C-121 passenger aircraft. Massive radar domes above and below the fuselage carried 6 tons of electronic gear. Entered service the Air Defense Command 1953, flying patrols off U.S. coasts as an aerial extension of the distant early warning line. Air Force ordered 82 of these between 1951 and 55. The one shown here is one of only 22 converted from earlier versions. It carried a crew of up to 22, including flight crew and radar operators and technicians. In Southeast Asia, these unarmed radar aircraft aided intercepting enemy planes, directed U.S. aircraft to aerial refueling tankers, and guided rescue aircraft to down pilots. This aircraft displayed here arrived in 1978 from the 79th Airborne Early Warning and Control Squadron, Air Force Reserve, Homestead Air Force Base, Florida. So this thing has been here since 78. Entered service in 55 and flew for about 30 years before it wound up here. Isn't that crazy? I can't see people's comments, my apologies. And there's the Nike Hercules over there. We're heading towards that right now, the Nike Hercules. Yeah, that's one I'm familiar with. I attended Ohio University, and it's a strategic site for research for our country. Ohio University, outside of town, Athens, Ohio, also had Nike Hercules sites, or maintained by the National Guard and Reserve up until the 1980s. Protect us. That's the Nike Hercules over there. I'm going to turn the camera back around now so you can get a view of it. So there you go. Nike Hercules along with some other aircraft. I'm just going to walk over there, and we're going to take a look here in just a couple of moments. Weather's absolutely gorgeous, but the temperature's already soaring. It was 63 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, which is perfect crisp temperature, my favorite temperature. Nice chill in the air, but it's already getting quite warm, and that sun is closer when you're at 6,000 feet. So I'm already starting to feel a bit the effects of that. So the Nike Hercules surface air missile replaced the Nike Ajax, the smaller one I showed you over there, in 1958. Greater speed and range in the Ajax and more advanced guidance system. Used by the U.S. Air Defense Command to defend major cities and military air bases during attack from the Cold War. At peak deployment, over 130 Hercules missile sites were located in the United States. Over 25,000 missiles were manufactured for the U.S. Army and armies of 11 allied nations. Maximum ceiling, 150,000 feet. Range, 90 miles. Flies at 2,750 miles per hour when the rocket burns out. Wow. And check out this one here. Once again, folks, we're at the Edward Peterson Air and Space Museum, Peterson Air Force Base, Colorado, outside of Colorado Springs. This is Chris. This is the Martin EB-57 Echo Canberra, first developed as a two-seat jet bomber used for detection and interception, training, or evaluation. It was modified with electronic countermeasures and radar jamming equipment. The rear cockpit was modified for use by an electronic warfare officer. On a typical mission, would imitate a hostile aircraft against U.S. or Canadian defenses. Once radars detected and tracked it, they directed interceptor aircraft missiles for simulated attack. They remained in the Air Force inventory through the 60s and 70s. Beginning in 1974, they were assigned to several Air National Guard units until finally being retired in the 1980s. This one's from Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana in the mid-1970s. And now we have the Hawk missile system. Raytheon. Hawk, homing all the way killer. Anti-aircraft missile, first mobile medium-range surface-to-air missile system used by the Army. Entered service in 1959 and with Marine Corps in 1960. The Hawk system is the markings of the 6th Battalion, 65 Air Defense Artillery, U.S. Air Defense Command, defending southern Florida from enemy air attack during the Cuban Missile Crisis in October of 1962. This is a system that I was involved with in the Ohio National Guard. We replaced the M42 Duster, which I showed you from Fort Carson the other day. This is the Hawk system. Air defense. You see the U.S. Army markings on it. And then finally, one more over here. Check that one out. Isn't that nice? Lovely. This is the Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star. Standard two-seat jet pilot trainer with over 6,500 were built by the U.S. and other countries, including Canada. They were phased out of Air Force service by 1987, but served in the Air Force over 20 different nations over several decades. This aircraft is the markings of its assignment at the Air Defense Weapons Center at Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida in the 1970s. T-33 trainer. So, you can see some of the most iconic aircraft ever in the Air Force's inventory. Some historic ones you just aren't going to see elsewhere, folks. I hope you found this interesting thus far and found something appealing for everybody here. Hopefully that's the case. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Stay tuned. It's Friday. I'm free today. I don't fly back until a few days from now, and so I'll be heading to the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum later today, and possibly the Museum of Rodeo. I might be doing that as well, and Western Museum of Mines. But I'll let you know. And a Garden of the Gods, I'll be doing a live stream from the Garden of Gods a little bit later on. So stay tuned for impromptu live streams. I don't have time to sit down on my laptop and set up the streams. I'll just be bringing them to you as I can bring them to you today and tomorrow. So thanks a lot, folks. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Be sure to push the like button, let people know about this stream. It's a short one. Hopefully people get Thanks a lot, folks. God bless you here a little bit later today on Chris